Welcome to the Football Queensland live stream of this National Premier League's Queensland clash between Lions and Brisbane Strikers on what is turning into quite a cloudy afternoon down at the Lion Richlands. But hopefully the worst of the weather has skirted around us here up on our rather exposed gantry, and we should be okay to keep the stream going. Big clash this one. Brisbane Strikers are the perennial champions really here in the National Premier League's Queensland. They're two-time premiers in 2016 and 2017. The other 3 years of the championship they finished in fourth and second spot. However, they haven't been able to turn that into grand final success, only reaching the grand final once and losing on that occasion to Moreton Bay United in 2015. Lions started their season in the best possible way with a 2-1 victory over big former NSL rivals Brisbane City, 2-1 the score there. Sean Carlos performing something of a masterclass, particularly with the second goal. Absolutely sensational finish, and we'll expect to see more of that from him today. He's shaken off a slight pre-season injury and already knocking in the goals in his makeshift number 9 spot. Not normally a striker is Sean Carlos, but he's certainly fulfilling the role for Warren Moon's side. Warren Moon, of course, will be absent today. He's down in Canberra sorting out his A licence, so Darren Syme will be at the helm for the hosts, and they will be lining up in very much the same way that they did just last week against City, just for one change, coming from Josh Brindle South. He is actually at a wedding, a best man, so the former A-League star for the Phoenix, and Green Gully man will be unable to fulfil his commitments with Lions. Just waiting on the teams to arrive. There's been a slight delay in proceedings, and if you saw that lightning, don't worry, we did too. We are in a rather exposed position. Get in touch on Facebook if you can, and Twitter using the hashtag NPLQLD. Rain is just starting to come down a little bit now. I do feel that the rain has at least skirted around us. Brisbane Strikers were somewhat shocked last week in the opening round against the champions, Western Pride. Something of a shock, although we shouldn't perhaps be surprised that the Western Pride have continued where they left off last season. It was a sensational performance from the NPL champions, scoring 2-1. Jake McLean's goal opened the scoring, in fact, and was the Strikers' man of the match, unable to convert that into a win, in part due to a pretty poor error from goalkeeper Nathan Archbold. Managed to kick the ball straight to an opponent, and that certainly didn't help his side, and Dave Large mentioned that in his notes midweek, saying that it was disappointing and that perhaps handed Western Pride the momentum. Momentum in this fixture is, however, with Brisbane Strikers. Just a fortnight ago, they beat Lions in the Silver Boot final by 2-1, and it was 2 goals that were really made by Hiroki Omori. He's been a sensational player for the Strikers for a number of years now, and he really did make up some fantastic goals on a fortnight ago here at Lions Stadium, setting up Dennis Yongule for one, and then other was scored by Sam Knight, I believe. Just a reminder that immediately following this game we'll have Football Queensland Premier League action live from Teralba Park, Mitchelton taking on Sunshine Coast Wanderers. That's kicking off at 7:30, so you can join Rafe Griffin live from Brisbane's north side, or hopefully they are escaping this little bit of inclement weather that we're experiencing down here. They will be followed on Sunday by South United against South West Queensland Thunder. That's going to be brought to you at 6 o'clock from Wakeley Park. Darren Lutton will be the man behind the mic for you there. Of course, just before that, we've got more women's action. The Raw women will be taking on Melbourne City in the W League semi-final. That's a do-or-die clash for the Raw women. And they will be taking on Melbourne City at Perry Park. Kick-off there is at 4 p.m. due to what we're expecting to be a real scorcher of a day here in southeast Queensland. Still waiting for the teams to emerge, so I'll run you through perhaps the expected lineups. As I mentioned, Lions only made one change from the Silver Boot final. Chris Marr, he starts. He was on the bench last weekend. In goal for Lions will be Luke Barine. He's been around the traps for a number of seasons now, playing at Brisbane City, Moreton Bay United, South West Queensland Thunder, and then, of course, here at Lions, where he won the Football Brisbane Championship after the Lions finished third in the league. Andy Thompson, number 2, Jacob Alexander, Matthias Simic, the captain, the former striker. One of 5 former strikers players. He's probably the most distantly linked to strikers, and played for them in the old State League. However, there are 4 much more recent strikers. Amongst them, John T. Richter, Sean Carlos, Duncan Stewart and Chris Marr. Interesting story about Chris Marr and Matthias Simic, which we'll perhaps regale you with during the game, involving an incident here in the 2016 NPL Silver Boot final, apologies. And the rain is starting to really trickle down now. Just having a little bit of a rearrangement up here as the rain begins to fall a little harder. It shouldn't be raining for too long according to the radar. That's certainly what we're hoping up here. The team from Double Take and I are both expecting a delightful afternoon in the sun. Hasn't quite worked out like that. As I mentioned, we are quite exposed up here, but it does look like the rain will pass pretty soon, and I'm sure this will be very cooling and very pleasant for the players, because it has been a real warm day, up to 34 degrees in Brisbane, as summer has returned after a bit of a cold snap. Most of the spectators retreat under cover. And we await the teams. It's a fantastic opening round of National Premier League action last week. Great way to get us started, particularly if you're a Moreton Bay fan on Friday night. And absolutely smashing Redlands by 6 goals to 2 out at the Cleveland Showgrounds. Then the Strikers succumbed to that 2-1 defeat at Pride, as we mentioned earlier. Gold Coast United, they had the long trip to Cairns. It's the longest trip that you're going to get in the National Premier League's Queensland this season. They came away with 3 goals and the 3 points from Cairns, so a disappointing start for the newly branded Cairns FC. We already mentioned the Brisbane Classico, Brisbane City falling to a 2-1 defeat to our hosts this afternoon, Lions. What was a full-blooded encounter, certainly a couple of heated exchanges that I'm sure we'll see repeated over the next couple of clashes in the season. North Queensland, although had a much better evening of it up there in Cairns, in Townsville, apologies. They ran out 4-2 victors over Sunshine Coast. And the Magpies Crusaders, well, they suffered a 6-2 defeat to potential favourites Olympic. And I can't remember how many occasions it would have been that we had two results on the same weekend with a scoreline of 6-2, and both in favour of the away side, but that is what we experienced this week. The rain really is coming down. The players are coming out, which is great to see, particularly from our point of view.
I can't do the broadcast in this weather, so if it keeps up.
Fortunately, if this weather does continue, our broadcast may have to be curtailed and cut short. As we mentioned on the BOM, it did say that this would be passing relatively quickly, but it does seem to be a lot heavier than we initially expected. Strikers will be in their grey shirts, their change strip, and Lions in their orange, as is customary. As I mentioned, this is an NSL derby of sorts, although the two teams never in fact played each other on the national stage in that particular competition. Lions leaving or exiting the National Soccer League in 1988, the Strikers only starting their national adventure in 1994. So never quite managed to meet each other on the national stage, but in some regards they did recently face off for a chance to compete on the national stage in the FFA Cup in 2016. On that occasion, Strikers ran out 1-0 winners over Lions here at Richlands. So Strikers have won the last two they've played at the Lion Richlands. Both teams in their huddle. It really is terrible weather to be standing on an open stanchion. The referee is Joey Lee, and if there wasn't enough of a sense of deja vu for these two teams, having faced off against each other just a fortnight ago in the Silver Boot final, well, Joey Lee was the official in that game as well. So pretty much as you were in pre-season for these two sides. I might be being optimistic, but I feel like the rain might be slightly easing. Anyway, thank you to Lions for supplying some rather natty looking bright orange umbrellas. Essential equipment as Joey Lee gets us underway. Strikers in the silver or grey shirts kicking off from left to right, and straight away Lions are disappointed with that call for a foul on Jake McLean, but I have to say looks like a pretty good call. Oroki Amori was in a dangerous position there, and Lions had to be alert to clear through Andy Thompson. As I mentioned, it's probably not bad conditions for the players, although they'd probably have preferred it a little bit after kick-off rather than to walk out and be completely in the mire from the off. Lions crabbing their way across the field using the throw-ins. Could be an opportunity for Carter Glockner here. This is dangerous for Strikers. Carter Glockner skips past his man, looking for support. Aimed that ball towards the middle, and it was a poor decision in the end from the Lions flyer. Play on. It's back with Carter Glockner, but Strikers will mop up with the former Redlands man, Michael Lee. It'll get quite gusty up here as Matthias Simic gets his foot on the ball. Ball aimed towards Sean Carlos, a little bit too far ahead of him, and a bit of a bobble for Nathan Archbold. He had a bit of a poor game last week. He really gifted Western Pride a goal. It was a real brain fade, unfortunately, from the former Charleston City Blues star. Luke Breen racing around on the edge of his area, but it was mopped up by the Lions defence. Here's Alexander. Looking for an option inside him. Finds Danny Kim. Carter Glockner aiming that ball towards Sean Carlos. It was a little bit too high for the makeshift front man for Lions. He's doing a pretty good job so far, is Sean Carlos. He scored 3 goals in the pre-season, scored 2 last week, so I'd say that's a pretty good start. Scaroni, rain does slightly ease off a little bit, but there's plenty of water on the pitch. Nice work from the hosts. Aim towards Carter Glockner at the back post. Good control from the speedster. Is he going to twist and turn? Sean Carlos is there. He's not offside. Flag stays down. He can only find Hiroki Omori over on the far side when a better pass could have seen a goal for the hosts early on in this game. Simic. Jarrett. Simic made room for himself, and that's where Jarrett aimed it. Alexander and Simic now exchanging passes. Kim comes back to help. Retaining possession well, Lions. This is the pattern that the game followed in the first encounter between the two in 2018. In the Silver Boot Grand Final, Lions really dominated but were unable to put the ball in the back of the net. And then, inspired by Hiroki Omori, strikers took charge. Collision in the midfield there between McLean and Mitch Hoare. Dangerous ball. Jesse Daly was lurking. Simic taking control. Strikers as yet unable to get their foot on the ball, but that's good from Michael Angus, the captain. Put Alexander under a lot of pressure, and that pressure's still on the Lions left back. Good switch though from the men in orange, and Gerard will be able to take the ball forward. Wobbling around a little bit. This pitch has had plenty of traffic so far today in idyllic conditions, if not a little warm. A bit of a flap from Archibald. David Large did comment on Archibald, not certainly no way suggesting that he was thrown under the bus. Referee is Jason Crowe, confirmation of that. Lovely looking ball by Jesse Daly. It's still there, is it, for Matthias Simic? Excellent by Simic. All the back heel as well. Nearly did for Greg Hensley and strikers. And then it's Michael Angus who's bundled off the ball. Simic crosses the ball in. It's gone all the way across. Still there. Mitch Hoare. Good block in the end. It was Sam Knight who managed to get the block in. And that was crisis averted somewhat for the strikers. I'll get my teeth out eventually. Oh, rain's almost eased off. It's almost gone. Don't know what we were worried about. I'm not the one with all the expensive kit though. Carter Glockner almost gets a shot away, and his former City teammate Mitch Hoare tries to assist him, but in combination with Sean Carlos concedes a foul for quite a untidy looking challenge. Strikers need to get themselves under a bit of control here, and that's not perhaps the way to do it, although that was good composure by Nathan Archibald in order to clear that ball. Good start. Expecting this game to be fairly cagey, but the quality that both sides possess will undoubtedly give us plenty of excitement further on in the game. Alexander comes up against Scaroni, only signed the week before the season started. He did just about enough there to form Alexander, former Souths United man. Ball is retrieved. Good pass by Joey Lee. Back to his assistant. Carter Glockner tries to get the better of Knight. bit of a call for a foul, and that is exactly what Joey Lee has given. Apologies, Jason Crow? It is Jason Crow, not Joey Lee. Getting my officials mixed up. I would say it's an easy thing to do, but probably not that easy. Swept into the front post. And both Sean Carlos and Carter Glockner were there. Ball swept across again, and it had to be a good header by McGowan. Because the Lions were lurking again, and this is some good stuff from the hosts. Can they make the difference here that they weren't able to make in the silver boot and get that opening goal? Sense that will be vital in this encounter. Ball swept in. Come off the head of Matic, but unable to do much with it. See, the field is carrying quite a bit of water, as you'd expect. That was quite some deluge we've just had. Great work by Jacob Alexander to release Ma. Ma crosses in low. There are 3 strikers players there, and they almost made a hash of it. It's only gone as far as Kim. Shot wasn't quite on for Danny Kim. And that ball comfortably into the arms of Nathan Archbold, and can the strikers maintain a spot of possession for a while through Michael Lee. It's a risky pass, but it pays off. McLean. And Michael Angus just hoofs it forward. Gets the thumbs up from Hiroki Amori, but not as young as he once was, Hiroki, and I doubt even if he were 10 years younger, he wouldn't have been able to sprint that fast. A poor pass out from the back, and spot above her, Zach Maltby, causing a few problems. Just 18 years old, got a vital goal in pre-season in terms of the silver boot. Ball skids off the hands of Luke Breen. We did have a shower in the final of the silver boot, of course, and that is perhaps what meant that Luke Breen managed to make a bit of a hash out of Dennis Yongule's first goal. But that's not what we're expecting to happen today, although we have seen a couple of slippery finger incidents from Nathan Archbold. There's Amori. Defence have to be alert to the threat that he poses, especially considering how vital he was in that silver boot final. It's a good way for strikers to start the season. Foul is given. Ball had just stopped rolling, asking a fair bit of Jacob Alexander, but he's got half a field to himself at the moment on this left-hand side. Mitch Hoare, such a standout player for Brisbane City last year. Kim skids that ball across to Thompson. Thompson again got plenty of space to pick a cross, and it's Sean Carlos at the back post. He's arriving with intent, unable to get his head on it, unfortunately for the hosts. Rain has stopped, thankfully. Scaroni. Right, under pressure from Glockner. Nice pass to Maltby. Maltby will test Simic, but Simic is alert to that threat. Uses his strength and experience. Mitch Hoare. Still going Mitch Hoare. Nice from Mitch Hoare. Sean Carlos now, the former striker. Lovely ball over towards that far side, and Ma, another former striker. He was on the bench last week, promoted in the absence of Josh Brindle South. Sloppy looking cross. Did see a flash of lightning over to our left. Maybe some more weather coming our way. As mentioned, if the weather does get too inclement, we may have to halt the stream. We'll do our best to not let that happen, but Unfortunately, we can't control Mother Nature. For those of you who have been out to this Richlands ground before will know we are quite exposed on the commentary position up here. Palmer almost able to get his foot on the ball, but the Lions pounced on that pretty quickly, and Luke Berean has the ball at his feet now. Eccentric figure of Luke Berean, certainly a unique character. Simic finds Mitch Hoare through the middle, and he's dispossessed there. Bit of an unnecessary flurry from Scaroni, but he wins the free kick regardless. Jason Crowe asking for a little bit of calm. Scaroni gives the ball straight back to Mitch Hoare. That's lovely skill from Mitch Hoare. Didn't time his run quite well. This flag will go up against Sean Carlos had he continued his run. Linesman was poised. I'm wondering in those situations, do linesmen feel that they need to raise the flag anyway? Just to let everybody know. As untidy by Sean Carlos. Once again on Scaroni. Former Strikers Junior and QAS, had a spell with Western Pride as well. Did Scaroni, he's some talent, but that was sloppy. And Greg Hensley with the shoulder. And Sean Carlos having a bit of a discussion with Jason Crowe. There might not have been a particularly polite discussion either, basing on how Jason Crowe has dealt with that fairly abruptly. There was a factor in Lions' play last week against City in the Brisbane Classico. They really did show a lot of aggression, and that's something that I know Warren Moon was sort of keen to sort of show in his team, not to back down in the face of some stronger opponents on occasion. We're going to have to stand up strong in defence here, and they do so with Tommy Jarrod. Does concede the throw-in though. That was good attacking play from the strikers. Amori almost gets out that space, but was unable to do so. Sean Carlos, lovely skill from Carlos, just unable to find Carter Glockner, who perhaps directed his run a little bit too far away from his teammate. Nice football by Knight, plays the ball in towards Zach Maltby. Angus. Scaroni. Played out by Alexander. Angus, in attempting to get that ball quickly, managed to lose a little bit of... lose his footing slightly, and I think that might become a factor later on in this game. There is a big cloud coming to our left from the south. Hensley goes back to square one in Nathan Archbold, who launches that towards the midfield. The only person there is Simic. Simic was fouled by Ryan Palmer. Defence from McGowan. Sliced clearance though by Archbold. It's worked out for strikers though. Michael Lee was fouled. Bit of frustration building in Lions. Their fast start has been slightly curtailed. Strikers build themselves back into the game. Angus. Palmer. Does have Knight on the outside of him. Goes back to Lee. McLean, lovely ball through towards Zach Maltby. It's good defending in the end though by Jacob Alexander. And it's still in. Alexander eventually swiping that ball clear. Collision between Carlos and Hensley. Looking forward to seeing how that battle plays out. Carlos, a bigger man than he looks. Rick Hensley, of course, a giant at the back for strikers. Knight twisting and turning against Alexander. Alexander keeping him at bay so far though. Angus receives the ball back. Strikers enjoying a good spell of possession now with McLean. And back to Scaroni. Hiroki Amori. Inside to McLean. McLean is dispossessed but wins the ball back, and Amori. Lions hunting in their pack and they manage to retain possession. But Mitchell struggled to slow down there in the face of the Michaels, Lee and Angus. Lions retain possession. Alexander, it opens up for him a little bit here. It's well cut out. Scaroni just doing enough. In fact, opening up a little bit now for the strikers, and watch out, Maltby's got pace. Tommy Jarrett had to be on high alert there. 2017 Lions Player of the Year. Showing the qualities that earned him that title just there. Young Zach Maltby is very, very quick, as Brisbane City found out in that semi-final of the Silver Boot. Daly. Lovely ball by Daly. Cross played into the middle. It got cleared well by Michael McGowan at the expense of a corner. Looking very threateningly at those clouds to the south. Can't quite see them on your monitor, but we can. Daly plays that ball all the way back to Kim, changing the angle. Mitch Hall was all on his own on the edge of the area. Don't want to leave him too many options like that. Amori deflecting the ball behind, this time for another Lions corner. Pretty slack defence from the strikers to pick something up on a zone, and plainly unable to do so. Swept in more conventionally this time towards the back post. Mitch Hall, was there a hand there? Nothing doing, says referee Crow. Strong challenge by Ma on Michael Lee. One of 4 recent strikers in this Lions side, so there'll be no secrets. Mentioning before, strikers did make a couple of changes from last week's encounter against Pride. All of them on the bench. Braden Steele, Joss Matcham and Joel Anich. We were expecting perhaps to see Reece Meredith. I spoke to David Large, strikers coach, just before kickoff, and he informed me that he just wasn't quite ready, and from a striker's perspective, his return can't come soon enough. Well, they managed fairly well without him last year. Scored 21 goals in 22 games for strikers. Don't forget, immediately following this game, join Rafe Griffin in the Football Queensland Premier League up at Taralba Park. Mitchelton welcoming Sunshine Coast Wanderers. It will be the Wanderers' first match in the Football Queensland Premier League after they got a bye last week. They'll be looking forward to getting their campaign off and running, as will Mitchelton, who suffered a 2-1 defeat up at Peninsula Power in round 1. Should be a classic clash, that. miss out on joining Rafe Griffin for that. Our kick-off immediately following this game. The sun sets behind this fantastic new clubhouse here at Lions. Jacob Alexander. Michael Angus was hit off the ball there. There's a bit of a discussion happening with Jesse Daly and Jason Crowe, saying that the exact same thing happened just before to a man in orange. That's not how Jason Crowe saw it. Bit of a discussion now. Michael Angus seeing the funny side of whatever it is that Mitch Hoare's saying. Such a quiet man off the field, Mitch Hoare. Can't imagine it was anything too threatening, but here is Jesse Daly, and he is threatening for Lions. Glorious pass over to the far side. We do have the opening goal, and it was a brilliant take and finish by Chris Marr. Lions counter-attacking to get the opening goal here at Lions Stadium. It's Lions 1, Strikers 0. Goal that they struggled and strived to get in the Silver Boot final. It came from a bit of a mistake from strikers at the back. It's real sloppy play and a real poor piece of possession retention, and Lions absolutely wasted no opportunity in taking full control. Glorious finish by Chris Marr. He sticks the knife into his former side. Lovely pass by Jesse Daly. Midway through the first half. The hosts are in control. They retain possession from the kickoff. More sloppy possession, Carter Glockner. And he finds Jesse Daly in the middle. Daly switches back towards Sean Carlos. It was just behind him, unable to pull the trigger. Or to Glockner. Glockner looking to sleep that ball in. If you're watching on the Facebook stream, give us a thumbs up if you're supporting the Strikers. And send us a love heart if you're in support of the team that have just taken the lead through the Lions. Lightning cracking around behind us. Will lightning strike twice here for Lions? Mitch Hoare. Jesse Daly. Mitch Hoare just crowded out of it a little bit. Alexander has so much time to deliver that ball. Unfortunately for him, straight onto the head of Greg Hensley. Retaining possession well though, our Lions, although that was sloppy from Kim. Holds his hand up in support of Andy Thompson. Here's Glockner. There's Alexander. Alexander paying that ball in to a dangerous area. Sean Carlos was lurking. Corner given. Keep our eye on the weather. Adds to the drama here in the National Premier League Queensland. Join the conversation. Hashtag NPLQLD. So Nathan Archbold claims that ball well high above his head. Gives that one a solid whack. See a gorgeous sunset behind the clubhouse. Sun setting on another day. Full programme of Premier League Queensland action. This afternoon, Moreton Bay United kicking off against Brisbane City at Walter Park at exactly the same time as this game. In the second half, we'll give you a half-time score update from that match. 6:30 kick-off between Cairns and Sunshine Coast up at Barlow Park. Pride v Olympic at 7 at Briggs Road. North Queensland will welcome Magpies Crusaders to Brolga Park at 7 as well. Just down the road at the Cleveland Showgrounds. Redlands United facing Southwest Queensland Thunder, and then the M1 Derby, or at least a return of that in some form. Gold Coast United welcoming the Raw Youth to Station Reserve. Also kicking off at 7 o'clock. Alexander does so well to keep his feet there. Falls to the ground, looks rather wistfully at Jason Crowe. Certainly no foul there. Playing with fire a little bit at the back there. Strikers, Michael McGowan just about escaping. Now Moore and McLean linking up. Strikers ball. Scaroni. Mitch Hall gonna get onto that. He's not. Scaroni does well. Now his young teammate Zach Maltney does well to help Strikers retain possession. Can they respond here, the reigning premiers? Sloppy from Angus. He was chased down well by Sean Carlos, who wanted that return ball, but it's Strikers who have picked up possession. But McLean can't thread that ball through towards Zach Maltby. That was poor in the end from McLean. We might see our first yellow card of the afternoon here, and that has been the case. Jason Crowe delving into his pocket, and Jesse Daly is the man who was penalised. Former Raw Youth and South Melbourne man, back in Brisbane now, after that stint in Victoria. Players putting on a bit of a show on the pitch. The atmosphere putting on a bit of a show behind us. There's lightning cracking all around us. Here at Lions Stadium, Richlands. Angus switches direction and finds Hiroki Mori. Mori looking for a target in the penalty area, can't find one, so gives the ball back to his captain. Here's Maltby. Maltby's twitching his way through a couple of challenges. Ends up on his knees without the ball. In possession of Jacob Alexander, and Jacob Alexander now finds Mitch Hoare, and Mitch Hoare has a bit of space to run into. Hensley up against him. Good chasing back though by Michael Angus, forces Glockner to go back to Mitch Hoare, who in turn finds his captain. Lions holding possession. Dealt with by Sam Knight, and was ball aimed in. Hensley, there was a hand in there, and we are going to see a penalty for a handball by Greg Hensley. The hand was up, the ball did get stopped by it. Don't think Jason Crowe had much option, and Lions have a golden opportunity to get their second. I think the hand was up from Greg Hensley. Jesse Daly, having just been booked, is going to have the opportunity from the spot. But he will if Nathan Archbold agrees after some discussion where the spot is. Two-nil Lions. Strikers with a mountain to climb now. Trailing as they do, 2-0. This is a best possible start for Lions, who did have a pretty tough start on paper at least to their stint in the National Premier League's Queensland. Away at City. Here's another opportunity perhaps for the Lions. Mitch Hoare. And Mitch Hoare is fouled. We'll see another yellow card here. Did Mitch Hoare kick out there? We could be in a little bit of trouble, the former City man. Certainly a yellow card for Jake McLean, there's no doubt about that. Jason Crowe does show Mitch Hoare a yellow card. Only a yellow. Well, he saw it as a kick out, then you'd have to question as to why it's not red. Fortunately for the hosts, that's not the case. Mitch Hoare still disagreeing. It did look like there was a little bit of asters with Jake McLean and Mitch Hoare. Might be worth sort of keeping our eyes on that. In the meantime, Jesse Daly's lining up another set piece in another dangerous position. Fairly central. Three-man wall. Four if you count Sean Carlos. Driven hard, straight into the wall. And that lightning's getting closer and closer behind us. More excellent interplay. Is that going to fall all the way across? Towards Carla Glockner it wasn't, and it was Sean Carlos again who was chasing that ball down. Green testing the ball, making sure it's still round. Then we may have to suspend the live streaming of this game. Hope it won't come to that, but if it does, we'll let you know. There's clouds who look very threatening. Angus goes down again. Scaroni retains possession though, for strikers, and launches that ball up towards Zach Maltby. It's going to be far too far away from him though. Carlos trying to play in Carter Glockner, and he continues to chase himself. Retain possession. Through the back is Alexander. It's a Lions ball. Too easy, I think the call was. Apologies for that. Frantically trying to cover up some of our equipment up here. Storm is getting a lot closer. Sam Knight. Scaroni. Angus. Was sloppy in the end from strikers. They do retain possession, but Knight over towards Michael Lee, but far too ahead of him. Sam Knight raising the hand this time. That's been all too common, unfortunately, for strikers so far. Lovely pass from Mitch Hall to Sean Carlos. Almost thread the needle again towards Chris Marr. But here's Hiroki Omori. Can he grab this game by the scruff of its neck and try and muster some sort of fight back for his side? Too far ahead of Angus. And it's sloppy again from strikers in possession. Carlos does excellently to find Mitch Hoare. Mitch Hoare looks up, doesn't see anyone ahead of him, so finds Mayer behind him. Mayer launches that right into the feet, or backside even, of Michael Angus. And we go again. Seven minutes to go before half time. Black clouds swirling around us. Lions press, looking for that third goal. No options for Mao. Has to go back. Kim. Simic. Encourages Alexander to run onto that, and he does. Glockner looks back inside. Alexander, ball is out, just about. It's a striker's throw. Strikers trying to obtain possession, but Omori being forced back. Played out by Marr. Still do have possession though, do strikers. In the wrong half of the field from their perspective though. Lions have been rather dominant in this first half. It's 5 minutes to go before the break. At which point I'm not afraid to say I think we're all going to be scarpering down off this metal stanchion and wait for this storm to pass, which I'm just anticipating might cause a delay in our stream for the second half. So if you are aware, if you are watching, stick with us. Hopefully this storm will pass relatively quickly, as the last one did. Only lasted a couple of minutes. Rain just starting to fall now. To stream down here at Richlands. If you just joined us, strikers are trailing the hosts by 2-0. So a Jesse Daly penalty after a Greg Hensley handball the second. Zach Maltby is fouled there, leading to howls of derision from some of the Lions spectators. Can Strikers get something out of this game before the break? Not like that, they won't. Scaroni getting manhandled off the ball by Mitch Hoare. Lions just look eager. They look ready to scrap and steal possession at almost every opportunity. Half time won't be able to come soon enough for the visitors. Lovely control by Sean Carlos. That's fantastic still, and he retains possession. Glorious stuff. Daly playing the ball in towards Carter Glockner. Nathan Archbold was there to claim, sliding out. But another dangerous counter-attack from Lions, and that third, you'd have to say, would have almost been terminal for Strikers' hopes, and the reigning premiers would have perhaps been staring down the barrel of a 6-point deficit to the league leaders at the end of this round 2 of matches. Long way to go, of course. David Large saying that you can't really afford to drop points at any stage of the season, though. Seeing 3 points massive last week and even bigger this week. So he will not have been impressed with his side's application so far here at Lions Stadium. Lions are just able to retain possession so well. Really have dominated proceedings so far. 43rd minute. Almost slid in there and back into a dangerous position for Mitch Hoare to grasp at, but ball had gone out of play. It's just steady rain at the moment, nothing too heavy. Hensley just letting that ball go out of play. Cameron Atfield joining the conversation on Twitter. Don't forget to use the hashtag NPLQLD. Concern is touching, Cameron. Hopefully I won't get struck by lightning up here. But there is plenty of it about on a stormy evening after a glorious day in Queensland's capital. Nice and cooling for the players, slightly more dramatic for us watching. Able to retain possession, and Mitch Hoare gets his body in the way and allows Kim to steal possession. Kim is bundled to the ground by Maltby, but no matter for Lions as Simic takes control. He has Alexander outside him, but he's trying to deceive us all by looking inside. Does go to Alexander, and now Mitch Hoare. The space Mitch Hoare and Jacob Alexander find themselves in, they could be playing by themselves. It took Zach Maltby belatedly chasing back to force any sort of change. But too easy for Lions at the moment. Alexander picking them apart, taking Michael Angus out of the game with that pass. Alexander able to run, plays in Glockner. Glockner sweeping the ball towards Sean Carlos, a bit too far above Sean Carlos, though he does well to get his head onto it. Tried to flick it on to Chris Marr, but he can't add to his tally so far in this game, and it remains 2-0. Have ticked over into injury time at the end of the first half. Won't be too much, although we have had a penalty. That is, in fact, the break. We're going to race away and kind of keep our equipment dry for the moment, so we'll keep this brief. Lions leading Strikers by 2-0. Chris Marr opening the scoring in the 22nd minute after some glorious play by Jesse Daly, and then Jesse Daly himself adding to the scoring with a 31st minute penalty after Greg Hensley handled the ball. Don't forget, after this game, Mitchelton versus Sunshine Coast Wanderers, live in the Football Queensland Premier League at 7:30 kickoff. There'll be a slight overlap in those games. We will endeavour to join you in the second half. If the lightning is too strong, we might have a slight delay. But thanks for joining us so far. Get yourself a nice warm drink. If you're out in the rain, get yourself under cover. and we'll see you in a few short moments.
We swear a lot at Total Tools. We swear by our range. We swear by our range. We swear by our service. And of course, so you'll know that you're buying at the best price every day. Total Tools. Every tool, every trade.
I could watch them all day. Even though here, you don't feel like you need to. These are the moments I'll remember. You see, to me, it's not so much just having us all together, but finding a place that really brings us together. That's what makes Oaks Oasis special. When you only get a few chances, it's important to make them count. After all, memories don't make themselves.
We did great today.
Audi Mini Rouge, Mini Star. Oh, Mini Star. Ah! Audi. Dream Team.
Reckon your kid could do better than Archie? We're looking for 4 mini stars to join the Aldi Mini Rouge Dream Team. If your kid's between 4 and 11, loves football, get them to make a video.
2 minutes max.
Showing us why they've got what it takes. If they're picked, they'll be part of the Aldi Mini Rouge Dream Team and the face of Aldi's wheat biscuits.
I thought I was meant to be on the box.
Take a look around. This is it. Our ground. Our home. Before you get out, really take a look at each other. Remember this right here. Your club, your colours, your mates. We look after each other, no matter what. Shoulder to shoulder. Together. It's what makes us stronger. So when the time comes, remember, each and every one of you is doing this for each other. You're doing it for the club. Because moments come and go, but this club, our great club, is forever. Is your club a good sports club?
swear a lot at Total Tools. We swear by our range. We swear by our service. And of course, we swear by our prices. So you'll know that you're buying at the best price every day. Total Tools. Every tool, every trade.
I could watch them all day, even though here, you don't feel like you need to. These are the moments I'll remember. You see, to me, it's not so much just having us all together, but finding a place that really brings us together. That's what makes Oaks Oasis special. When you only get a few chances, it's important to make them count. After all, memories don't make themselves.
We did great today.
Audi Mini Rouge. Mini Star. Oh, Mini Star. Ah! Audi. Dream Team.
Reckon your kid could do better than Archie? We're looking for 4 mini stars to join the Aldi Mini Rouge Dream Team. If your kid's between 4 and 11, loves football, get them to make a video.
2 minutes max.
Showing us why they've got what it takes. If they're picked, they'll be part of the Aldi Mini Rouge Dream Team and the face of Aldi's wheat biscuits.
I thought I was meant to be on the box.
Take a look around. This is it. Our ground. Our home. Before you get out, really take a look at each other. Remember this right here. Your club, your colours, your mates. We look after each other, no matter what. Shoulder to shoulder. Together. It's what makes us stronger. So when the time comes, remember, each and every one of you is doing this for each other. You're doing it for the club. Because moments come and go, but this club, our great club, is forever. Is your club a good sports club?
the game and set up 2 fine goals for Strikers. Boy, what could they do with them right now here while playing for competition points. Daly goes down. No foul given. Advantage being played. Glorious one-on-one. Good save in the end by Nathan Archbold. Fine save. Sean Carlos should have been looking at his 3rd goal of the season, you'd think. 2 golden opportunities in this second half to really put Strikers to bed. As it is the visitors who are counter-attacking now, but play broken up by Matthias Simic and now broken up by Jesse Daly. Lions wanting the ball. Mitchell had to wait for that one. The pitch a little bit heavier now after the fairly heavy rain we experienced at the start of this game. Jared looking for the pacey figure of Carter Glockner. Knight had to be aware. The 29-year-old in his 4th season at Strikers. He did very, very well. Did look perhaps like Sean Carlos was brought down there. Jason Crow, unmoved. Got a little bit of advice from Danny Kim. Don't often see referees change their mind after the ball's gone. Mitch Haw continuing a conversation that started just before he received a yellow card for possibly kicking out at Jake McLean. Started a small scuffle, nothing like what we saw in the Brisbane Classico. A couple of flashpoints there. So, poor throw. You have to think that the slippery nature of the ball and the field played its part in that, because that was pretty ordinary. Andy Thompson now. Nice move from Thompson to wrong foot Zach Maltby. Maltby's chased hard, unable to have too much of an effect though. Left thighs quite heavily strapped. I didn't notice that in the first half. David Large unable to call upon the services of 2016 top goal scorer Rhys Meredith. Instead, Josh Matcham taking his spot on the bench, not quite ready, according to David Large. Meredith, who scored 21 goals in 22 games for the Strikers. His 2-year stint there, coming back from knee ligament damage, as that ball swept in by Daly. Headed clear. Kim uses sweeper keeper Luke Breen, who's only 10 yards in his own half. That was very nice by Kim. There are options for Lions. Goes back. Daly on his own. On the edge of the penalty area, just on the edge of the D. If the ball comes out to him, you'll know all about it, you'd expect, but that's a poor cross in the end from the hosts, and once again, Strikers can regroup and try and get the ball back up the field towards their danger zone, but hasn't been many threats so far from the reigning premiers, 2-time reigning premiers, champions, premiership winners in 2016 and 17. Never finished lower than 4th in the 5 years of the National Premier League's Queensland, have Strikers. Of course, made the National Premier League Grand Finals. Luke Breen almost gets himself in a spot of bother. We've mentioned he's a free spirit. Might not be too easy to see, but he is in fact wearing a beanie. Although it isn't quite as hot as you'd normally expect in a Brisbane summer, it's certainly not far off being far too warm. to be wearing a beanie. Bit of pace there. This ball is almost latched onto by Sean Carlos. Former striker, of course. Spent the 2016 season at Strikers. That premiership winning season. Before returning to Lions, where he was in fact crowned for 2015 Flight Centre Brisbane Premier League Player of the Season. Some calibre, Sean Carlos, and he's really showed that so far. 3 goals in pre-season and 2 last week in the Classico. This game, of course, something of an NSL derby, although the two sides never played against each other on the national stage. So he'll be wishing he was a couple of inches taller to dispossess Lions there, but it's not to be, and Thompson takes the ball forward, has Mitch Hoare in support. Mitch Hoare looking for a runner. Has one in Daly, but uses him as a decoy to find Kim. Carter Glockner is offside over on that far side. Does have a tendency to drift offside, does the former Brisbane City man who made a bit of a name for themselves in the Brisbane Premier League in 2016 with Easts, scoring a hatful of goals under his father's management, Steve, who was a legend at Brisbane City in the NSL days. It's a fairly handy strike rate. Was Carter Glockner. He scored 11 goals in 27 appearances for Brisbane City in the National Premier League's Queensland, and will be hoping to do the same for his new side. Hasn't been able to get off the mark just yet, not in the league anyway. He's got 2 goals in the pre-season Silver Boot competition. Lions came second. Sure, having another little look up there at a Strikers player after being bundled to the ground. Fairly lightweight frame has Mitch Hoare, but he's a fierce competitor. Incredible tenacity. O'Brien races out. Looks to find Andy Thompson, you'd expect, but no, aims a little bit further forward of that towards Chris Marr, who has been pinged by Jason Crowe, much to the former Strikers man's bewilderment. Lee. Gowan. Lee. Sloppy. But it's worked out for Strikers. That was poor from Scaroni though. Sam Knight wanted it ahead of him. Daly concedes a free kick on Scaroni. Hensley knocks that ball forward towards Ryan Palmer. Mentioned him too many times, unfortunately for Strikers. He scored 2 goals here at Lions in pre-season. Pre-season in which Strikers claimed silverware in the form of the Silver Boot. Neat footwork there from Michael McGowan to get himself away from danger. Crossfield ball attempted by Amore. It does find a Strikers man. They both had to check their run over on that far side. Tried to be thread through towards Jake McLean. But again, it's another wasteful effort from Strikers, who've been pretty poor going forward so far tonight. Scaroni clearly pushing Jesse Daly in the back there. Matthias Simic, glorious ball, perfectly weighted to Andy Thompson, and Andy Thompson has room to run now. You can see what he was trying to do there, trying to play in Ma, but it's pretty disappointing execution from the right back. Of course, time has just ticked over to 7:30, so if your poison is Football Queensland Premier League, hop over to the other stream to catch all the action live from Terralba Park as Middleton take on Sunshine Coast Wanderers. Alternatively, I'm sure we'd love you to do, stay here and see the conclusion of this game and see whether Strikers can get back into the game. They're not going to do that if they allow Sean Carlos too many more sighters at goal. He'll be terribly disappointed that he pushed that the wrong side of the post. The wait is finally over. Make sure you get your registrations in so that you can play Australia's most popular sport this winter, this season. Youth football at a more local level kicking off around the state. Visit playfootballqld.com.au to find your local club. Get behind your local team. Plenty of clubs playing at a state level now in and around Queensland. I'm sure they'll appreciate your custom and support throughout the year. Alternatively, just sit at home and live stream 3 games a week, brought to you by Double Take and the Football Queensland Facebook page. I'm Simon Smale. I'll be taking you through most of the National Premier League action through this season. Rafe Griffin will take you through the Football Queensland Premier League. Darren Lutton will bring you the National Premier League's women's. Big weekend of women's football. Certainly a big day of women's football tomorrow. That ball clearly out. Andy Thompson just launching it forward. As I mentioned, a huge game for women's football here in Queensland, here in Brisbane tomorrow. Raw women taking on Melbourne City in the W League semi-final at Perry Park. Tickets are still available, but getting quick because they are selling fast. Kick-off there is at 4 p.m. Live streaming is your thing. You can't get down to Brisbane. Catch that game on the local TV station and then jump onto the Football Queensland Facebook page for South United versus South West Queensland Thunder. Darren Lutton will bring you all the action there. Lions retaining possession. At this rate, Strikers will not get their way back into the game, but you cannot write Strikers off. It's a period midway through last season when Strikers, I think, scored 7 goals in 5 games after the 80th minute. That's an audacious effort, trying to catch Brian off his line. Well, that would have been some way to get back into the game. Again, the reverse commentator's curse coming into play there. Luke Bruin had to be alert. He does stray quite a long way off his line. This won't help Strikers though, as Mitch Hoare plays in Chris Marr. Marr drifting that ball tantalisingly across the face of goal. It was well defended in the end by Sam Knight, and it had to be because Mitch Hoare, Carter Glockner and Sean Carlos were all in fairly close attendance. About to see a substitution, but Darren Syme, who's taking the reins for Lions this afternoon, as Warren Moon is in Canberra. Chased back and unable to keep that ball in, unfortunately, was Nathan Archbold. Corner for Lions. And we're not going to see that substitution now. Darren Syme having a change of heart, waiting to see how this corner pans out. goal here potentially really kill off strikers' hopes. It's played short. Carter Glockner trying to twist and turn, and a long-range effort that was blocked, and now the counter-attack is on. Michael Angus doesn't quite have the pace and is bundled to the ground. Play on advantage. No advantage coming. Zach Maltby unable to latch onto that. Michael Angus is asking for a yellow card, I think, from Jason Crowe. In fact, he's asking whether or not he could have gone back, and it's a fair comment and it's a fair question, but the play had been allowed to go on, and Zach Maltby did have plenty of opportunity to get onto that ball. We are going to see a substitution, and it's the opening goal scorer Chris Marr who's making way. I'll tell that story about Chris Marr as he's taking his time to get off. Maciej Simic missed almost all the 2016 season after suffering a double fracture in his leg in the Silver Boot final, which lines 1-2-1. The player who made that tackle was Chris Marr. On the same side now, otherwise this game could have got very, very tasty. Trotting onto the field, again the feel-good story of the National Premier League's Jonty Richter back on the field after a heart operation last season, ruled him out for the year. And of course, those of you who are not strangers to the Football Queensland live stream of the National Premier Leagues will recognise Jonty as my partner in crime for the majority of the season. Here he is back doing what he loves on the field. Did of course score what turned out to just be a consolation for Lions in the Silver Boot final. No foul despite the withering look from Seb Scaroni. Didn't look like there was much in that. Just a collision of bodies. Carlos. Jonty Richter pushed onto the right hand side. Lets Thompson go, but played that a little bit too far ahead of him and dangled the carrot for Hiroki Omori, who bit it with both hands. Mixing my metaphors. Jonty Richter challenging his opposite number, Michael Lee. And then a foul conceded by Tommy Jarrett. Zach Maltby didn't have to do anything other than stand up to that challenge. Jake McLean playing in a very deep position. It's not quite where David Large would want him, you would expect. He switches now with Hiroki Omori. It's an interesting looking ball played towards Palmer. Maciej Simic well able for it though. Carter Glockner unable to really get that ball under control first time around, and that has led to a foul being given for that challenge on Jacob Alexander. Just 20 minutes to go, midway through this second half. Strikers leading by 2-0. Chris Marr getting the first, Jesse Daly adding a second from the penalty spot after Greg Hensley's handball. Strikers, worrying signs for them, haven't really offered much, either in the first half or the second. Unfortunate there for McLean though, as he slips on the slippery turf. If you have just joined us, you missed a quite terrific downpour in the first 10-15 minutes of this game. Made life quite interesting for us with the lightning crashing around us. Thompson. Jonty Richter trying perhaps a little bit too much there, but that allows the strikers to break away, and here's an opportunity for Zach Maltby, and he has clear air in front of him. This is where he's so dangerous, Zach Maltby. Goes down under some close attention from Jacob Alexander. Was there a push in the back? Not too many protestations from the 18-year-old. Good defending from Alexander. Nice from Maltby. Strikers suddenly looking dangerous. A goal here will really liven things up. It almost fell for Lee. What an intervention that was by Danny Kim. Luke Berean taking his sweet time in clearing that ball. We're going to see our first substitution for the visitors. David Lodge may well roll the dice. It's Seb Scaroni who makes way. Bit of a tactical change as well, judging by the shape. It's Joshua Matcham who comes in. One of 4 changes that strikers made from the side that were defeated by Western Pride at Perry Park last week. Hensley keeps that in. Maltby can't control though. Flew in there, did McLean. Untidy, but Palmer got his head on it. Throw into the hosts. Hensley heads that ball clear. Forced to go all the way back to Archbold. Archbold under pressure from Sean Carlos. Clears and gets it up as far as Sam Knight, but it's Lions' throw. Half-time, Moreton Bay United were 3-0 up over Brisbane City, so they will be clear at the top of the table on goal difference, for what it's worth, after 2 rounds. The Lions will be up there with them on 6 points out of a possible 6, and everyone mentioned that this would be a tough start. Glorious from Hiroki Omori. Another one to add to his highlights reel. Good friends, Jonty Richter and Hiroki Omori. You might have heard the groan as a ball was played through the former striker's legs. Poor in possession again, though, our strikers, and here's a bit of an opportunity for Carter Glockner to stretch his legs. Forced to cut back inside. Mitch Hoare. Thompson. Jonty Richter's on his own in the penalty area. Couldn't find the ball to him though. Daly at walking pace. Has so much time. Tries to play that ball over towards Sean Carlos. Onside. Excellent run from Sean Carlos. Back inside. It was well cleared in the end by Greg Hensley, getting his big chest onto that. And strikers playing the ball around dangerously inside their own penalty area, but they do get the ball out now through Omori, and now a bit of an opportunity for Matcham. Showing a bit of pace for youngster. Breen's going to have to be careful. Matcham did delay his run a little bit, and now good pressure from Maltby, and Matcham again. That's better from strikers up front. A youthful exuberance from young Josh Matcham, 17 years old. McLean can't find a teammate to Michael Lee, who hasn't had his best game in strikers' colours, you'd have to say. Angus. It's cleared, you heard the cry of anguish. There's 2 defenders up against Sean Carlos, but that doesn't normally stop him. In the end, it needed the 3rd in Michael Angus to steal possession away. Danny Kim is fouled there. Haven't missed Josh Brindle South, former Wellington Phoenix man. Played 4 Hyundai A-League appearances for the New Zealanders. Before venturing down to Victoria in Green Gully. He's best man at a wedding this evening, so we're missing. That's a good present is for Lions to take the 3 points in his absence, and that's where those 3 points will be heading if the score remains the same. 2-0 to the 2017 Flight Centre Brisbane Premier League champions. Great chasing back by Carter Glockner there to intervene and scupper that attempt at a cross. Andy Thompson, Mitch Hoare. Mitch Hoare has a lot of space to run now. It's really opened up for him. Sean Carlos in the middle. Still Mitch Hoare, waiting to get that cross in. Amori and Angus able to clear the lines, but Lions able to maintain possession. Here is Mitch Hoare again. Pulled back then, quite clearly, by Michael Angus. Michael Angus probably walking a little bit of a tightrope now with referee Jason Crowe. We will see a substitution for the hosts. Be Liam Cosgrove, 19-year-old, who comes in. And he'll replace Jesse Daly. Both goal scorers now for Lions off the pitch. Jesse Daly slowly trotting off. It was his 31st minute penalty that gave Lions a 2-goal cushion. After Greg Hensley handled the ball.
Substitution for Lions, number 14, Liam Cosgrove, replaces number 10,
Liam Cosgrove.
Lions 2, Strikers 0.
Recommended by Warren Moon from his time at Churchie. A Churchie boy playing in the National Premier League's Queensland. Just 10 minutes remaining. Time running out for Strikers here in round 2. Will it be the worst possible start for Strikers? No easy games in this division as Jonty Richter tries to trick Hiroki Amori and ends up tricking half his teammates as well. Goal kick will be taken by Archbold. Lions will head to Olympic next week. That'll be some game. It's on Sunday. The game's not getting any easier for the NPL Queensland newcomers, but pull back there on the shirt from Danny Kim on Jake McLean, but not noticed by the referee or not hindered at all. Or tried to squeeze that through to Jonty Richter, but was unable to do so. Asking plenty of Hiroki Amori. Mitch Hoare. Eben pulling back. Jake McLean now. Play on. Again, sloppy from Strikers, trying to maintain possession, but here's a golden opportunity for Maltby. He slices that one wide. Strikers will not get too many more opportunities, you wouldn't have thought, as time runs out. Here in the final 10 minutes, give or take, with injury time. That's a desperately disappointing effort from the youngster. 18 years old. One of Strikers' youth products. Oh, that's excellent from Lions. End ball, unfortunately slightly lacking by Alexander towards Jonty Richter. And now here comes Strikers again with Ryan Palmer. Palmer tried to squeeze that one through towards Matcham. Again, it's rather wasted, and Lions will come ahead, and look at how much space Andy Thompson has now. Richter. Back to Thompson, but Michael Angus is there to tidy things up. Still there for Sean Carlos. Good chasing, good perseverance from Lions. And Lions will work to peg strikers in that corner. Though Maury was a little bit more alert than his opponents, and strikers will be able to clear. And just playing with fire there with Mitch Hoare. Jonty Richter chasing down. Maury. Sloppy from Maury. Foot was high from Jake McLean, has been booked. Certainly nothing in that to warrant a second, of course. It's more out of interest. Duncan Stewart will be the next substitute. And Sean Carlos is coming off. He won't be adding to his season tally so far. So one former striker replacing another. As Duncan Stewart only played for the under-20s for strikers. He'll still be eager to impress in the final few minutes here against his old side and his old club. Richter gets us back underway. Mitch Hoare, no real risk in putting the ball into a dangerous area, but keeping the ball is the #1 aim for the hosts at the moment, and they're doing that expertly. Have done all game, really. Bit of a miscommunication, but Jonty Richter and Andy Thompson. Andy Thompson just taking a little bit of possession, a little bit of time off the clock. Referee Jason Crowe, sponsored by Total Tools, has had a good game, I thought. There's an opportunity perhaps for young Zach Maltby. Disappointing end to that move. And Maltby again just struggling a little. Got a bit nervous then. I saw an umbrella go up in the crowd. He's just trying to shake off some of the water. Don't need any more rain up here. "12 minutes into our Football Queensland Premier League game over on the other stream, and it's already been a goal in that match. It's gone to the visitors. Sunshine Coast Wanderers leading Mitchelton by a 1-0. Rafe Griffin will be able to take you through that game as soon as we've finished here. That's where I'll be going, straight onto that live stream once we end proceedings at Lions Stadium. And Mitch Hoare hoping to put a full stop on this match with a goal of his own. It's been impressive as the former City man, former Raw youth. Opportunity for Matcham, onside, twisting and turning. Oh, he's done very well, Matcham there. Goes down under his own efforts more than that of a defender. Is there a late twist in this one? Don't go anywhere yet. There's still time for the strikers. Can they rescue something from what has been a very disappointing night? Maltby trying to work his way through a very narrow corridor, unable to do so. Hensley. Palmer, that's nice. Ball aimed towards Amori at the back post. He's headed straight up in the air by Thompson, and again by Thompson. Amori just can't anticipate where the ball's going to go, though. And another disappointing ending to a relatively promising situation from the strikers, and that has been the story so far. Here's Richter. Finds Mitch Hoare outside him. Mitch Hoare goes back to Thompson. No incentive at all really for Lions to really press their advantage. A couple of other scores around the traps. Moreton Bay leading Brisbane City by 3-1. City getting a goal back there at Water Park. Cairns trailing Sunshine Coast by 2-1. South West Queensland Thunder leading Redlands United 3-2 at half-time. Olympic leading Western Pride by 2-1. Olympic could underline their status as competition favourites with a win against the champions out there at Briggs Road. North Queensland United and Magpies Crusaders, they're 1-1 at the break. And Brisbane Roar Youth are leading Gold Coast United by 1-0 at half-time down at Station Reserve. So plenty of games happening. There's also one that we're live streaming from the Football Queensland Premier League. It's a dangerous looking ball over towards young Matcham. But Luke Berean stands tall and sets his side off on another counter-attack. Here is the Lions substitute, Duncan Stewart. No inclination at all to really press home their advantage from Lions. And we're just about to tick over the 90. 30 seconds of normal time remaining. No fourth official, so we'll be guesstimating how much time is added on at the end of this game. I'm going to say 3 minutes. And plenty of substitutions, although not much else. Strikers holding Lions to just for 2 goals, but other than that, it's been a desperately disappointing night for the reigning premiers. The 2-time reigning premiers who've had their premiership defence are off to a terrible start. No wins from 2. Matcham. Oh, nice ball over onto that far side. Back to Matcham over the top. He's looked lively since he's come on as this 17-year-old Strikers youth product. He's unable to mark his season debut and senior debut with a goal. As of yet, there is still injury time to play. Nice from Carter Glockner, who's moved over onto this right side now. Jonty Richter taking up a more central position, and Duncan Stewart over on the left. Aimed towards Stewart. Takes that one off his head and hits that straight into Hensley. Hensley screaming for a handball. In a similar situation, he was pinged over in the first half, which allowed Lions to get their second. That's a sloppy tackle from Carter Glockner, and he's going to earn himself a yellow card. That's pretty foolish from young Carter Glockner. Lazy looking tackle right on the ankle. Looks painful from Jake McLean. It's been a painful afternoon for Strikers. Jason Crowe looks at his watch. McGowan taking it upon himself. That was pretty solid. Charged into Matthew Simic, who more than held his ground. Put a strong shoulder in. It's not NRL season yet, boys. Two goals to nil. Football Brisbane Premier League champions, 2-time Brisbane Premier League champions, beating the 2-time National Premier League Queensland premiers. Lions getting their revenge for that silver boot defeat. Biggest margin in goals between the two in the last few years. They met in the FFA Cup round 7 qualifying round in 2016. It was 1-0 to Strikers on that occasion. Silver boot final has been 2-1 to each side in 2016 and 2018. So 2-0 for Lions. Jason Crowe checks his watch again and blows for full time. A comprehensive victory, you'd have to say, for Lions. Very, very comfortable did the NPL newcomers look tonight? And their fine start to a tough season continues. 6 points from 6. Strikers the complete opposite. They're still pointless in the National Premier League's Queensland. Hugely disappointing for them. We won't hold you too long. Jump over onto the other stream, Football Queensland Premier League, to catch Mitchelton against Sunshine Coast Wanderers. Can the hosts get a goal back there? Go join Rafe Griffin and find out that. As I mentioned, big weekend of football in Queensland. The Royal Women will take on Melbourne City in the W League semi-finals from Perry Park at 4 o'clock. And you'll be able to race home after that and join Darren Lutton for Souths United versus South West Queensland Thunder in the National Premier League Women from 6. Live on the Football Queensland Facebook page. I've been Simon Smale. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been tough conditions tonight. Baptism of fire for Double Take with the wet weather and the lightning on this metal platform here at Lions Stadium. We've survived. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. We'll see you next week for more National Premier League's Queensland action. Thanks for joining us. Good evening.